The Allahabad pillar is an Ashoka Stambha, one of the pillars of Ashoka, an emperor of the Maurya dynasty who reigned in the 3rd century BCE. While it is one of the few extant pillars that carry his edicts, it is particularly notable for containing later inscriptions attributed to the Gupta emperor Samudragupta. Also engraved on the stone are inscriptions by the Mughal emperor Jahangir from the 17th century. At some point of time, the pillar was moved from its original location and installed within Akbar's Allahabad fort in Allahabad, Uttar Pradesh. As the fort is now occupied by the Indian Army, the public are only allowed limited access to the premises and special permission is required to view the pillar. History. The Allahabad pillar is a single shaft of polished sandstone standing 35 feet high. It has a lower diameter of 35 inches and an upper diameter of 26 inches. The customary lotiform bell-shaped capital seen in the other Ashoka pillars is lost as is whichever statue mounted it. However, the abacus, adorned by a graceful scroll of alternate lotus and honeysuckle, that the statue must have rested upon, was found nearby. Cunningham believed that the capital must have been mounted by a single lion. The abacus is almost identical to the one found on the pillar at Sankasu, suggesting proximate erection dates. The Ashokan inscriptions suggest that the pillar was first erected at Kaushambi, an ancient town some 30 kilometers west of its current location, which was then the capital of the kingdom of Koshala. It was moved to Allahabad much later when the region came under Muslim rule. The presence of another broken pillar at Kaushambi near the ruins of the Goshitarama monastery has led some to believe that the Allahabad pillar might have been one of a pair, not unlike the ones discovered at Rampova. The pillar has been taken down and re-erected a number of times since the 13th century and the idol-breaking zeal of the Mussalmans. It was once re-erected during the time of Jahangir in 1605, albeit crowned by a globe surmounted by a cone, and was later sketched by the Jesuit missionary Joseph de Fontana in the mid-18th century. In 1838, Captain Edward Smith of the Engineers set up the pillar once again, this time with a new lion capital of his own design. Cunningham dismissed this effort at restoration as a signal failure, as he thought the statue was small and recumbent. He summed up the design with the following remark: "Indeed, it looks to me not unlike a stuffed poodle stuck on the top of an inverted flower pot." Inscriptions. When James Prinsep of the Asiatic Society came across the broken pillar just inside the gates of the Allahabad fort in c. 1834, its inscriptions were being eroded by the rain and sun. He remarked, "I could not see the highly curious column lying at Allahabad, falling to rapid decay, without wishing to preserve a complete copy of its several inscriptions." There are 3 sets of inscriptions on the column from the 3 emperors, Ashoka, Maurya, Samudragupta, and Jahangir. They are accompanied by some minor inscriptions by pilgrims and others, which are derided as a mass of modern scribblings by Cunningham. Some of these are, however, dated and coupled with the style of scripts used, are useful to establish the periods when the pillar was in an erect position and when it was lying prone on the ground. An analysis by Prinsep and later by Cunningham indicated that the Allahabad pillar was very likely erect from the time of Samudragupta until the mid-13th century CE. Ashoka inscriptions. The Ashokan inscriptions on the Allahabad pillar was pivotal to the decipherment of the Brahmi script by the Asiatic societies. James Prinsep. It led to the rediscovery of the Mauryan emperor and the unearthing of the full extent of his empire. The inscription is engraved in continuous lines around the column in Brahmi and contains the same 6 edicts that can be seen on the other pillars. However, much of the 3rd and 4th edicts have been ruthlessly destroyed by the cutting of the vainglorious inscription of Jahangir, recording the names of his ancestors. Besides the 6 edicts, the Allahabad pillar also includes what are known as the Schism Edict and the Queen's Edict. Schism Edict. The Schism Edict, referred to as the Kaushambi Edict by Cunningham, is a command from the emperor addressing the senior officials of Kaushambi, urging them to avoid dissension and stay united. The following is a conflation of various fragmented versions of the edict. The beloved of the gods orders the officers of Kaushambi Pata thus: no one is to cause dissension in the order. The order of monks and nuns has been united, and this unity should last for as long as my sons and great-grandsons, and the moon and the sun. Whoever creates a schism in the order, whether monk or nun, is to be dressed in white garments, and to be put in a place not inhabited by monks or nuns. For it is my wish that the order should remain united and endure for long. This is to be made known to the order of monks and the order of nuns. Thus says the beloved of the gods: you must keep one copy of this document and place it in your meeting hall, and give one copy to the laity. The layman must come on every Upasada day to endorse this order. The same applies to special officers who must also regularly attend the Upasada and endorse this order and make it known. Throughout your district you must circulate it exactly according to this text. You must also have this precise text circulated in all the fortress districts. Queen's Edict. The Queen's Edict refers to the charitable deeds of Ashoka's queen, Karuvaki, the mother of Prince Tivala. On the order of the beloved of the gods, the officers everywhere are to be instructed that whatever may be the gift of the second queen, whether a mango grove, a monastery, an institution for dispensing charity, or any other donation, it is to be counted to the credit of the queen, the second queen, the mother of Tivala, Karuvaki. Samudragupta inscriptions. A later inscription, attributed to the 4th century CE Gupta emperor Samudragupta, follows immediately below the edicts of Ashoka. It is considered the most important historical document of the classical Gupta age. It is in excellent Sanskrit, written in the more refined Gupta script by the poet and minister Harishana. The inscription is a panegyric praising Samudragupta and lists the political and military achievements of his reign, including his expeditions to the south. It provides a unique snapshot of the Gupta Empire and its neighbors, and is the source of much of what is known of the geopolitical landscape of that era. The following is from the translation of the inscription by Dr. Bandaka, whose mind is surcharged with happiness in consequence of his association with the wise, who is thus accustomed to retain the truth and purpose of science, fixed, upraised, who, removing impediments to the grace of good poetry through the very injunction of excellence clustered together by the experts, enjoys, in the literate world, in an attractive fashion, sovereignty, in consequence of fame for copious lucid poetry. Come, O worthy, and embracing with hair standing on end and indicating feeling, father, perceiving with the eye, overcome with affection, laden with tears, discerning the true state said to him, so protect the whole earth, while he was being looked up with sad faces by others of equal birth, while the courtiers were breathing cheerfully, beholding whose many superhuman actions, some felt the thrill of marvel and burst into horripilation, some relishing with feeling. Some afflicted with his prowess sought protection after performing obeisance. Whose offense was always great, being conquered by his arm in battles. Day by day, pride. repentance with the minds filled with delight and expanding with much and evident pleasure and affection, by whom, with the impetuosity of the prowess of arm, which grew to overflowing, having singly and in a moment uprooted Utta and Nagasena and come together in a battle thereafter, causing, indeed, the scion of the Kota family to be captured by forces, amusing himself at named Pushpa, while the son, the banks, the enclosing structure of Dharma, multifarious sprouting fame is as bright as the rays of the moon. Erudition pierces down to truth, quiescence. The course of wise utterances is worthy of study. Again is poetry which outdistances the greatness of the genius of poets. What excellence is the which does not belong to him? So has he alone become a fit subject of contemplation with the learned. Of him was skillful in engaging in hundreds of battles of various kinds, whose only ally was valor through the might of his own arm, and who the epithet Parakrama, whose body was most charming, being covered over with the plenteous beauty of the marks of hundreds of promiscuous scars, caused by battle axes, arrows, spikes, spears, barbed darts, swords, iron clubs, javelins for throwing, barbed arrows, span-long arrows and many other weapons, whose magnanimity blended with valor was caused by first capturing, and thereafter showing the favor of releasing, all the kings of Dakshinipada, such as Mahendra of Kosala, Vyagraraja of Mahakantara, Manturaja of Kurala, Mahendragiri of Pishtapura, Svamadatta of Kotura, Damana of Randapala, Vishnugopa of Kanchi, Diliraja of Avmukta, Hastavarman of Vengi, Ugrasena of Palakar, Kubra of Devarashtra, and Dhananjaya of Kuthalapura, is great through the extraordinary valor, namely, the forcible extermination of many kings of Aryavata such as Rudradeva, Mithila, Nagadatta, Chandravarman, Ganapatanaga, Nagasena, Akyutanandan and Balavarman, who has made all the kings of the forest regions to become his servants. Formidable rule was propitiated with the payment of all tributes, execution of orders and visits for obeisance by such frontier rulers as those of Samatata, Avarka, Kamarupa, Nepala, and Katrapura, and, by the Malavas, Arjunyanas, Yodhas, Madrakas, Abhiras, Prajunas, Sanakanikas, Kakas, Karaparikas and other. Fame has tired itself with a journey over the whole world caused by the restoration of many fallen kingdoms and overthrown royal families. The unimpeded flow of the prowess of Varm by an earth embankment put up by means of service through such measures as self-surrender, offering daughters in marriage on a request for the administration of their own districts and provinces through the Garuda badge, by the Devaputra Shahi, Shahano Shahi and the aka lords, and by occupying all island countries, such as Simhila and others. He was without an antagonist on earth. He, by the overflowing of the multitude of many good qualities adorned by hundreds of good actions, has wiped off the fame of other kings with the soles of feet, Purusha, being the cause of the prosperity of the good and the destruction of the bad, incomprehensible, one whose tender heart can be captured only by devotion and humility, possessed of compassion, the giver of many hundred thousands of cows. Mind has received ceremonial initiation for the uplift of the miserable, the poor, the forlorn and the suffering, resplendent and embodied kindness to mankind, equal to Kubra, Varuna, Indra and Yama. Ayutta officers are always engaged upon restoring wealth to the many kings conquered by the might of his arms, has put to shame Brihaspati by sharp and polished intellect, as also Tumburu, Narada and others by the graces of his musical performances. Title of King of Poets has been established through many compositions in poetry, which were a means of subsistence to the learned people. Many wonderful and noble deeds are fit to be praised for a very long time. A human being, only as far as he performs the rites and conventions of the world, God whose residence is world. This lofty column, the raised arm of the earth, proclaiming as it were, that the fame having pervaded the entire surface of the world with rise caused by the conquest of the whole earth, has acquired an easy and graceful movement in that it has repaired from here to the abode of the Lord of the gods, of that prosperous Samudragupta the Maharaja, son of the prosperous Chandragupta the Maharaja, born of the Mahadevi Kumaradevi, daughter's son of the Lichavi, son of the prosperous Gatotkacha the Maharaja, and the son of the prosperous Gupta the Maharaja, whose fame ever ascending higher and higher masses, and travelling by many paths, by liberality, prowess of arm, sobriety and utterance of scriptural texts, purifies the three worlds, like the white water of the Ganga, dashing forth rapidly when liberated from the confinement in the inner hollow of the matted hair of Pasupati. And may this poetic composition of Harishena, the servant of the very same venerable Bhattaraka, whose mind has been enlightened through the favour of dwelling near, who is the Santivagrahika Kumaramachi Mahadamdanayaka, a native of Kadyatapaka, and son of the Mahadamdanayaka Dhruva Bhuti, lead to the welfare and happiness of all beings, and was executed by the Mahadamdanayaka Tilabhataka, who meditates on the feet of the Paramabhattaraka. Earlier translations, including one by J. F. Fleet, also exist. Jahangir inscriptions. A still later inscription in Persian traces the ancestry of the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. It was carved by his favourite calligrapher, Mir Abdullah Mushkand Kalam, shortly before his accession to the throne when he was still Shah Salam. However, much to the dismay of both Princep and Cunningham, the Jahangir inscription overwrites the much older Ashoka inscription. The Mughal-era inscription also records an earlier visit in c. 1575 of Akbar's courtier, Birbal, on a pilgrimage to the Sangam, the confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna, and Sarasvati rivers, which is very close to the Allahabad fort.